Good evening. It is May 5th, 2025, and we're continuing our discussion collection in our Outside the Class series. This series, from the Bible Project, it covers the entire TaNaK, also known as the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Those source videos are available for your review. They're on TheDustyFeet.com in the Outside the Class section. Because the intent of Outside the Class, you'd listen to those in-class lectures first. Those little short overview videos. While we expand this conversation, then we try to keep it about 15 minutes. Easy to catch up. So we're on a quest, scroll by scroll, book by book, or journey through this collection, just maybe with a fun and different twist. Our hope with the Dusty Feet is to foster discussion and to help build and support communities. If you are not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. TheDustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Substack. Link is in the description below. It's designed around the written and spoken text. It's a place to connect to ourselves and others. 3. Facebook at The Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. 4. And as always, you're welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on The Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and the interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. Oh, and of course, before we forget, if you do find these kinds of podcasts useful, please click that subscribe button. But those reminders, they're just there to help you. But also, if you think these might be useful to others, that is when you click that like button, because it is how YouTube chooses to share these to more people, well, if they wish. So remember, in this series, we're going to cover the entire TaNaK, or the entire Old Testament, but we're going to do it in the original order of those Hebrew scriptures. And we need to remember, the videos we're going to discuss are just the tip of the iceberg. They are part of a learning series I highly recommend, and all of them are available at the Bible Project, because we will ask many questions about all kinds of things. The answers? We'll see. So, Kings, first scroll. This is our part 3. So when we left off, the king, that would be David, has chosen Solomon, the second son of Bathsheba, to be king. So now we kind of have 2 kings. We have Solomon and we have Adonijah. We also had a ruckus that was so loud it made the earth shake. Boom, 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 yeah? Kind of like that ultimate concert with the booming bass. Because then we get to verse 41, and the usurper king, Adonijah, well, he kind of gets the news. Starting in 41, Adonijah and all the guests who were with him heard it as they finished feasting, and when Joab heard the sound of the trumpet, he said, "Why is the city in an uproar?" And while he was still speaking, Jonathan, son of the priest Abiathar, well, he arrived, and Adonijah told him, "Come in, for you are worthy men, and surely you will bring good news." But Jonathan answered Adonijah, "No, for our Lord King David has made Solomon king. The king has sent with him the priest Zadok, the prophet Nathan, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and the Cherethites, and the Pelethites, and they had him ride on the king's mule. And the priest Zadok and the prophet Nathan have anointed him at Gihon, and they've gone up from there rejoicing, so that the city is in an uproar. This is the noise that you heard. Solomon now sits on the royal throne." Okay. To be honest, the news for Adonijah, it gets worse, right? The crowds, they heard that as well, and basically they all ran away. As we mentioned at the end of last week, Adonijah, well, he runs to what he believes is a safe space, basically yells, "Ollie, ollie, oxen, free, free, free." People who do this kind of thing in the culture of the day, right? These usurper kings, they usually die. And at his reaction, so this is not only contextually relevant, it fits, but it's also reasonable. Seeking refuge in or at, well, a holy place. Starts at verse 47. Moreover, the king's servants came to congratulate our Lord King David, saying, "May God make the name of Solomon more famous than yours, make his throne greater than your throne." And the king bowed in worship on the bed. And he went on to pray thus: "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who today has granted me, one of my offspring, to sit on my throne, and permitted me to witness it." Then all the guests of Adonijah, well, they got up trembling, went on their own ways. But Adonijah, fearing Solomon, well, he got up and went to grasp the horns of the altar. Solomon was informed Adonijah is afraid of King Solomon. See, he's laid hold of the horns of the altar, saying, "Let King Solomon swear to me first that he will not kill his servant with the sword." So Solomon responded, "If he proves to be a worthy man, not one of his hairs shall fall to the ground. But if wickedness is found in him, well, he shall die." Then King Solomon sent to have him brought down from the altar. He came to do obeisance to King Solomon. And then Solomon said to him, "Go home." Solomon sends him home. Solomon sends him on his way. I just think it's important that you remember verse 52. If he proves to be a worthy man, then not one of his hairs shall fall to the ground. But if wickedness is found in him, he shall die. It's interesting throughout the Bible. We see it with God, of course, and we see it with men who make these promises. They're almost like elements of a covenant, and sometimes they're just regular things that they say. The if then, if this happens, then this will happen. For this one, we're going to get to that story just a little bit later. But for now, David, he's lying on his deathbed. And he gives his last will and testament. He gives his parting words to Solomon. The parting words of a dying king. And in those parting words, David mentions promises kept. But then David leaves it up to Solomon and the words David uses wisdom, right? To see how he will choose to deal with it. Because David's promise was for him. But he will soon not be there. And, Solomon, he'll get the choices. Chapter 2 starts in verse 1. When David's time to die drew near, he charged his son Solomon, saying, "I'm about to go the way of all the earth. So be strong, be courageous. Keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways, keeping his statutes, his commandments, his ordinances, and his testimonies, as is written in the law of Moses, right? So that you may prosper in all that you do, wherever you turn. Then the Lord will establish his word that he spoke concerning me, if your heirs take heed to their way, to walk before me in faithfulness with all their heart and with all their soul. There shall not fail you a successor on the throne of Israel." Moreover, You shall also, you know also Joab, son of Zeruiah, what he did to me, how he dealt with two commanders of the armies of Israel, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether, whom he murdered, retaliating in a time of peace for blood that had been shed in war, and putting innocent blood on the belt around my waist and on the sandals of my feet. Act, therefore, according to your wisdom, but do not let his gray head go down to Sheol in peace. Deal loyally, however, with the sons of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and let him be among those who eat at your table. For such loyalty they met me when I fled from your brother Absalom. But there is also with you Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite from Bahurim. He cursed me with a terrible curse on the day I went to Mahanaim. But when he came down to meet me at the Jordan, I swore to him by the Lord, I will not put you to death with the sword. Therefore, do not hold him guiltless, for you are a wise man. You will know what you ought to do to him, and you must bring his gray head down with blood to Sheol. Then King David slept with his ancestors, was buried in the city of David. The time that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. So Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his kingdom was firmly established. So as the story moves on, right, now it seems that Solomon's wisdom, well, it's tested early. The players involved, well, they're just moving pieces around to achieve results, selfish results that they want. Adonijah, he tries to use Solomon's own mother, Bathsheba, right, to get something that he still wants. You know, when you look at it, it's really a twisted stab onto what he wants, right? He wants Abishag, the Shumanite, right, that attendant of the now King David. And in seeking her, well, it's going to be his undoing. Starts in verse 13 of chapter 2. Then Adonijah, son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, and she asked, do you come peaceably? He said, peaceably. Then he said, may I have a word with you? And she said, go on. And he said, you know that the kingdom was mine, and that all Israel expected me to reign. However, the kingdom has turned about and become my brother's, for it was from the Lord. Now I have one request to make of you. Do not refuse me. And she said to him, go on. And he said, please ask King Solomon, because he will not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shumanite as his wife. And Bathsheba said, very well, I'll speak to the king on your behalf. So Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him on behalf of Adonijah. And the king rose to meet her, and he bowed down to her. Then he sat on his throne, and he had a throne brought for the king's mother, and she sat on his right. And then she said, I have one small request to make of you, so do not refuse me. And the king said to her, make your request, my mother, for I will not refuse you. And she said, let Abishag the Shumanite be given to your brother Adonijah as his wife. And then King Solomon answered his mother, why do you ask Why do you ask for Abishag the Shumanite for Adonijah? Ask him for the kingdom as well, for he is my elder brother, and the priest, Abiathar, and Joab the son of Zeruiah, they're on his side. Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, so may God do to me, and more also, for Adonijah has devised this scheme at risk of his life. Now, therefore, as the Lord lives, who has established me and placed me on the throne of my father David, who has made me a house as his promised, today, Adonijah, he shall be put to death. So King Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada. He struck him down, and he died. Remember verse 32, verse 52? Yeah? Promise made, promise kept. And as we get to next week, we're going to see more of the same, right? Promises made and kept. And the execution of a promise, pun word chosen, in a place that's going to give us a few more things to ponder. So thanks you're with us tonight on an ongoing exploration of the first scroll of Kings with the reign of King David coming to an end and the rise of King Solomon on the Dusty Feet.